GDP of the country has reached $3.75 trillion from around $2 trillion in 2014.
The next economic superpower after USA is not China or Japan, but it is a country with colorful festivals, diverse culture, and a rich history. Can you guess which country I'm talking about? It's India.
In the 18th century, India accounted for about a quarter of the global GDP. By the middle of the 20th, colonialism ensured that we were one of the poorest nations of the world. But in the 75th year of its independence, India stands before you proudly as the 5th biggest economy of the world and still rising.
I'm not just conveying this blindly. I did more than a month of research and I have also numbers to prove to say why India is going to be the next economic superpower. Look at this chart. This is the chart of top 10 economies in the world. India recently surpassed United Kingdom to become the 5th largest economy in the world, and it is only behind United States, China, Japan and Germany. Do you know what's optimistic about India? It is home to largest youngest population in the world with average age of 28. Yes, it is true. The average age of people in India is 28. I will talk about it in more detail. I will show you the graphs of different countries, average ages and all. Let's discuss why India is going to be the next economic superpower with some numbers. So let's take two countries, because I was just talking about USA and China in particular because Japan and Germany are close to us. They are ranked at 3 and 4 in top economies in the world, and India is at 5 at the moment. It is expected that India would cross them and become the 3rd biggest economy by 2028 because the difference is very close and we are doing really great in terms of GDP and in terms of growth when compared with those two countries. But to surpass USA and China, it takes some time, but it is optimistic that India will surpass USA and China in the coming years as well. Let's see how USA and China are growing and what are the problems that are facing. If you can see, this is the China's GDP growth chart. China has been really growing in the mid 1980s and 1990s and even early 2000. But if you can see, after 2010, the GDP growth has seen some decline, and especially after 2020, there were many reasons why China's GDP is going down. One thing, China's GDP is highly dependent on, or China's growth is highly dependent on two things. First thing is exports. You know, right? If you can see some electronic devices in your home, more than 50% of the devices that you are using are manufactured in China. So China is a huge manufacturing hub, and entire world is dependent on China for importing things. China's growth is highly dependent on manufacturing and exports. This is one thing. And the second biggest growth contributor of China is their infrastructure, their real estate. But recently China witnessed a decline because of Evergrande crisis. Evergrande is the biggest real estate company in China. It went bankrupt and it contributes a massive decline in the China's GDP growth. And this is one of the reasons why China's GDP is going down since a couple of years. And when talking about USA, so if you can see, this is the chart that is actually reflecting the US employment rate, and it is also directly contributing to the GDP or growth of the country. If you can see, the number is going down since 2020, which is the same case with China as well. There were many reasons why US economy or US growth is slowing down. One thing is basically banking crisis. So because of high interest rate, recently we have also witnessed banks like Silicon Valley become bankrupt. The banking crisis almost increased the inflation rate to some sky high levels which US ever experienced so far. This is one thing which is contributed to the decline in GDP of United States. Not only Silicon Valley banks, there were many banks in the recent times in United States that we have seen that like they are becoming bankrupt because of the inflation rates. Like US is facing a huge inflation these days, and which is causing the banking crisis as well. You can see like there were many layoffs, the recession is taking place in United States. The layoffs are still going on even by FANG or MANG company. The inflation is one of the main reasons for this entire crisis that is taking place in United States. These are the reasons why I can say like China and United States are falling behind, at least from the last 3 years. If you can see the current economic standing of India, United States and China, this graph is basically the GDP growth rate of last 20 years for the countries India, United States and China. If you can see, the yellow is India, the green is United States and orange is China. See from right to left, from 2004 to 2023, which is the current year. I have collected this information and I did a lot of research to create this graph. You see, it is clear that from the last 3 years, the growth is evident in terms of India. Last year is a very bad phase, like the global pandemic has almost destroyed wealth across the world. But India is the only country, I can say, in terms of the top economies, that has sustained this global pandemic. And if you can see, the GDP growth hasn't impacted based on that. This is one economic indicator that India is going in a good direction. And now let's come to the possibilities or opportunities for India to become world's #1 economy. We can do many debates regarding this, but there are few factors that are contributing to India's growth that we can consider to say like India has chances to become world's #1 economy. One thing is India's population. And India has already surpassed China as the most populous country in the world. Other thing that is contributing is the population average age. If you can see, these are the top 6 economies in the world, and if you can see the average ages, USA it's around 40, China it's around 40, Japan it's around 50, even Germany it's around 50, UK it's around 40 again, but only India has the average age close to 28. This graph is also evident that India has the largest youth population in the world. This is one thing which will contribute to the growth of economy, because a young workforce will contribute a lot to the country. That is a positive thing for India. And also India is well versed with technology sector. Entire world is dependent on India for information technology services. Even big MNCs across the world are dependent on Indian talent. Of course, it's not really a positive sign that Indian talent is going to many countries and working for them, but it is evident that India has a lot of young talent, and the entire IT in the world is dependent on Indian talent. So that is something that is also a favorable factor. Most of the country's economy, most of the world's economy is dependent on information technology these days. Adding to the opportunities and the possibilities of India becoming the world's #1 economy, there are also some challenges that India need to overcome to become world's #1 economy. Few of those challenges are the gap between rich and the poor, which is we call economic inequality. It is evident that there is a huge gap between rich and the poor. So this is one thing that India need to overcome to become world's #1 economy, because if you can consider USA or China, there are many millionaires and the economic gap between rich and the poor is quite less. And the other thing is unemployment. If you can see the chart of unemployment in India, so this is from India today. India on an average has an unemployment rate of 7.8%, and if you can see the states contributing to the unemployment, it is a worrisome sign, because unemployment is something which will increase the economic inequality, because of the unemployment, like poor still remain poor. So to bridge or to decrease the gap between rich and the poor, unemployment rate should go down. That is something that India should focus on again. There are many reasons contributing to the unemployment, because of it might be education system, mass supply of talent, even though there is less demand. So there are many things which are contributing to the unemployment rate. Of course, with huge population, there is a lot of competition for all the things, all the jobs or all the industries. So it is quite evident that unemployment rate is common, but still the rate of 7.8 is a worrisome sign. So if we can at least reduce that to 2 or 3%, then ultimately there will be more chances, because successful countries have unemployment rate less than 1.5 or 2%. We are also getting many foreign investments in India. There are many manufacturing units that are getting started in India. We can only reduce the unemployment by bringing more industries. I believe government is trying now, because the number is going down. If you can see, like 5 to 6 years back, the number would be more high. Sometimes India faced more than 10% of unemployment rate, and it's coming down. That's a good sign. But if we can get more industries to India, ultimately they will produce more jobs and unemployment rate would gradually go down. If you can see now, almost all the top companies have their centers in India. It might be Amazon, it might be Google, even it might be Apple, or even Tesla is planning to start one in India. More manufacturing units, so more companies, more foreign investments come to India, the jobs will also get increased, so unemployment rate would go down. I think this is happening, and this would only contribute the growth of India's economy. Based on these factors, it is evident, or it is okay to say that India would become the next economic superpower, maybe after 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. There were many who already predicted that India would become number one economy by 2047 or 2048, but I believe it would happen more early than that because of the resources that we have, because of the population that we have, because of the young talent that we have. It is possible. Even the GDP is proving the same. Many other factors, like I said, like foreign investments coming to India, many manufacturing hubs have been starting in India. Inflation rate, we are able to control the inflation rate when compared to other economic superpowers. These are all good signs that we can say that India is slowly converting from a developing nation to a developed nation. I want to know your thoughts on what are the main challenges that India are facing or that are stopping India from becoming a developed nation. I want to know your thoughts as well, because this is something that we can debate for a whole year as well. I have presented the research that I have done on this, and I want to hear your thoughts as well, so that we can have some healthy discussion in the comments if possible. Thank you for watching this video. If you feel you got some value through this, please like this video and share this video in your network. Also, if you are a new visitor to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.